Woo! Oh! What's going on, guys? So today, oh yeah, my new helicopter workbench. Check it out. I needed one to work on my helis, so I built one on this side of the room to work on my helis, and drones and stuff. Then over here, of course, my old workbench kept getting filled up and cluttered up. Had no more room, so I needed more space. So today I wanted to talk about pre-run inspections. Kind of checking your car over to make sure everything's, you know, tightened up, things are running good, things are looking good, screws are tight, bolts are tight. So over the years of me running my cars, I've come across many situations where things came loose during a run and ended up making other things strip out because of the problem, or just ending the bash short, you know, calling it a day. I'm like, daggone it. So yeah, so I wanted to go over some of the things that I've had problems with and that I try to check before every run, which I don't do that all the time, but here lately I have been trying to do that. I've been trying to check these things before every run. And let me go over, let me get rid of my wrench. Some of the things that I've had problems with over the years. The number one thing that I've had problems with excuse me, the number one thing that I've had problems with is the wheel nuts coming loose. A tire flying off in the middle of a bash. All of a sudden, there it goes, flying down the road. Yeah, number one thing I try to check is my wheel nuts. These are the 17 millimeter size here. Most 1/8 scale buggies have those. The ones on here are the smaller. I use the little wrench there to tighten those up. But that is the number one thing I try to check. Is I try to tighten my wheel nuts, because that's the number one thing for me that's giving me problems. The second thing is anything along the drivetrain. The first thing I like to check is my pinion grub screw. So let me lift this up for you. It's a small little screw. You gotta spin your, there it is right there. Get some light in there, right there. That tiny little screw can cause havoc. So yeah, definitely try to check that. Usually it is Loctited. If it's not Loctited, put some blue Loctite on it. You could even put red, but it's going to be very hard to get off. You probably have to heat it up to get it off. I use blue Loctite, but sometimes it still works loose. There's a lot of, you know, vibration and stress being put on that pinion. So yes. That's the second most important thing to check, in my opinion. Third is your motor mount bolts, screws. Check to make sure they're super tight, because if this motor starts coming loose and it'll move, the pinion is going to move away from your spur gear, and if it's plastic, these are both metal, you're going to strip the plastic one for sure. Next thing I try to check, this isn't really along the drivetrain, but my shock bolts that are holding the shock to the shock towers. These come loose a good bit on some of my RCs, and I just try to wiggle them real tight to make sure they're good and tight. If not, I'll tighten them up. Another thing, your out drives. Same thing, the little grub screw. There's a little grub screw on your little out drives coming out of the transmission. One sec. Right there, that little grub screw right there. Same thing as the pinion gear. That needs to be Loctited, blue Loctited, and checked before each run if you can. If not, pretty regularly. That's come loose on my Arma Creighton a ton of times, so I finally put a ton of blue Loctite on it, and it's held. This is actually my Thunder Tiger Bushmaster 80. It's an amazing buggy, 1/8 scale buggy. I love the 1/8 scale buggy layout. It's so easy to work on. Everything's so easy to get to, like I'm showing you. Some other RCs you might have a harder time getting to these areas, but still. Also, there's another one of those in the front, which this one's going to be harder to show on camera. It's deep in there, but I can get to it. Yeah, you ain't gonna be able to see it, but the front one there, the front outdrive. So they're the main things I check. It's good to go over all these little screws. Just check to see if they're, but if you don't have time to do it, I mean, it's not one of the main concerns of mine. So it's good to go through them. Another thing I do is I'll flip it over, and every screw on the bottom, I'll just feel around here. See, they're all flush. Oh, wait a minute. That's not flush. See? Let me grab my X wrench. Yeah, that one's sticking up. That's loose. Very loose, actually. So let me tighten that down. Wow, that was really loose. See? Probably the next run that would have came out. I would have lost a screw. I don't think that was attached to anything super important. Yeah, it was probably on my servo receiver box, but yes, I'll always go through the bottom of the chassis and check all these things, make sure they're tight. Also good to check your turnbuckles, make sure those bolts on the turnbuckles are tight. On the C-hub there, the hub, steering knuckle, well, the knuckle, and make sure they're good and tight. Well, your sway bar, they have the little grub screws also, but that's nothing I really check too often. Just mainly your drivetrain, your wheels, your wheel nuts, and shock. If you're doing a lot of jumping, the shock, mine come loose a lot, the shock tower bolts there. Anybody else out there that has some things they check or something I missed, please chime in and let us know in the comments. I'm sure you guys, other experienced RC people out there, have some other techniques that they have and use. And yeah, so like I said, this one here I would check with this little wrench. This is the Kyosho Rage, and look at that. Oh my, that thing's actually really loose. I just ran this yesterday. See, that thing was out a good bit. So that might have flew off on the next run. So that's a good thing to check. Over here, same thing. The Arma Creighton layout. You can check your pinion. You can check all this stuff pretty easy access on these. Now, like I said, some of your layouts aren't going to be as easy as these buggy style layouts. Like this JLB J3 Speed layout's pretty sweet too, and everything's easy to get to. This one, the pinion is actually in this cover here, but they were smart enough to leave a little opening so you could, there it is, so you get to that little grub screw. All you gotta do is hold the one tire on the ground and spin this one, and it'll, till you find it. There it is. Yeah, same thing. I like to do the same inspection on this. Check the bottom chassis plate, make sure all these are good and tight. So anything, you know, any RC, your Traxxas Monster Slash, the Summit, get ready to upgrade this thing soon, guys. I did a little poll on my channel and everybody said, upgrade one of your old RCs, don't buy a new RC, which, hey, I think I'm not gonna go crazy on it. I'm gonna get some Proline, maybe Trenchers or Badlands, those MX ones, the new ones they came out with. I'm going to try to do a Kawasaki theme. They did have a Kawasaki edition of this thing back in the day. It was sweet looking. I did already get the lights for the top, the actual LED lights. And we'll see what else I can do with it. Make it. I'm leaving it brushed, so don't even say go brushless. It's staying brushed. So anyway, guys, yeah, same thing with like something like the Bigfoot. This one don't have a lot of bolts like the buggy style, but you can check all your ones back here, all those, your pinion gear, which is back here. Unfortunately, you got to take off the cover on this one to get to your pinion, which there's only 2-3 screws to take out to access that. So yeah, just some tips to make your run stress-free. I'm not saying it's gonna work every time, that something else might fail that you didn't check, but of all the years I've been running RCs, wheels flying off, pinion gears coming loose, strip and spur gears, shock tower bolts coming loose, they're the main problems I've had besides actually snapping parts as far as things coming loose. So thought I'd make that video for you guys, and stay tuned for some more awesome RC action on the RC Element. Till next time, guys, the RC Element out. Do a little drifting. Check this out.